Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com, and we're here today with episode number 53 in our incredible new tutorial series where you're learning how to think like an engineer using the Arduino Uno R4 Wi-Fi. What I will need you to do is pour yourself a nice tall glass of ice cold coffee. That would be straight up black coffee poured over ice. No sugar, no sweeteners, none needed. And as you're pouring your coffee, as always, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Sunfounder. Sunfounder is actually sponsoring this most excellent series of video lessons. And in this class, we will be using the Sunfounder Elite Explorer Kit. Now, hopefully most of you guys already have your gear, but if you don't, take a look down in the description. There is a link over to Amazon, and you can hop on over there and pick your kit up. And believe me, your life and my life are going to be a whole lot easier if we are working on identical hardware. But enough of this shameless self-promotion. Let's jump in and talk about what I am going to teach you today. And I'm going to show you one of the components that I think is one of the most exciting components that you can add to your Arduino project, and that is the SSD1306 OLED Display. Now, one is included in your Sunfounder kit, or you can find a plethora of them on Amazon. And so they're very low cost devices, and they really pack a whole lot of bang for the buck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to hook up that little display and how to make the display sing and dance, if you will. Okay, we're going to really put the little display through its paces, and by the end of today's lesson, you are going to have mastered getting that little display to do whatever you want it to do. Sound pretty good? I hope it does. So let's see where we're going to start here. Let me get out of your way a little bit, have a little sip of my coffee. And I guess the first thing that we should probably do is we should probably look at how to hook this thing up. And so let me come over here to the schematic. Okay. And maybe I need to get a little further out of your way here. So you'll find that there is a little display in your kit, and that display is about an inch on a side, so it's very small. It's very, very easy to hook up because there are just 4 connections. And so if we look over on the leftmost pin is ground, GND, when you've got it oriented in the way that I do up here where the pins are on the upside. The left is the GND, which is we run over to the Arduino GND. Man, I don't know. I think I would rather just show you the live view so you could see where I was pointing. Okay, so here is the actual view, and let me go ahead and back off so you can see the whole thing. Okay, so this is the little display. The leftmost pin is GND, so that goes over here to GND. Then the second pin from the left is 5 volts, so that comes over to the 5 volt connection on the Arduino. The next pin, the third pin, is the SCL pin. I think it says SCK on the display, but the SCK pin goes to the SCL pin on the Arduino. And finally, the fourth pin is SDA, and that SDA pin goes to the SDA pin on the Arduino. So it's really very easy to get hooked up. And let's see if I can zoom back in. That looks pretty good. I think that'll work out like that. And then if you would prefer to see the schematic, let me go ahead and show you the schematic, and you can just see visually here what I just showed you how to hook up. So it's really easy to hook up. Now, this can be one of the most exciting little components to use, or it can be one of the most frustrating components to use. Okay, and what the frustration is that this device operates over I2C, and I2C is sort of like a serial bus where you can string a lot of different components connected to the same SCL and SDA pins, and each component has its own address. And so then you can talk to the component you want by giving it its address, by specifying the address that you want to talk to. Now, here is the difficulty, and here's where things get confusing. A lot of times you can have components that have the same name and in fact look identical, but might not have the I2C address that you expect. So I might have an SSD1306 OLED display, and then the sample software might say that I have one address, but for some reason the particular display that I have might have a different address. And that seems particularly to be an issue on these OLEDs, that they all look the same, but for some reason there can be a lot of confusion over the address. And so if we want this project to go smoothly, I don't want to use just the OLED address, the I2C address that is in the sample programs. I want us to be able to go out and find the I2C address for the specific OLED or other I2C device that we are using. Okay, so how will we do this magic? How will we accomplish this? Well, I will need you to go to the most excellent www.toptechboy.com. You can use this happy little search tool here, and you'll search on something like scan Arduino to find I2C addresses. You'll come to this most excellent page, and then I've got some code here, and I'm going to copy that code. And then what we are going to do is we're going to come over here to Arduino, and we're going to open up a fresh new IDE. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste that code in there. Now, I'm not going to go through this code because we're not trying to become I2C experts here. We're trying to learn about the OLED. But what this code does is it basically steps through the I2C addresses and sends a little ping and then tells us the address where it saw a component respond. And so what we're going to do is we are going to, let's see, I don't think there's anything else. Let's just make sure that we are on a suitable COM port. Yes, that looks right. So let's run this thing, and then we're going to run this thing, and it looks like it's downloading properly. Okay, and it is done. And then what it is doing is, I think I'll press the button. I'm going to press the button so it will start again. Let me turn. Okay, now I'm going to, okay, now there it is. It says scanning, and what does it say? It says an I2C address, an I2C device was found at address 0x3C. So you need to write that down because that is the I2C address of your OLED. Now yours might be different than 0x3C. Yours might be something different, but whatever yours is, you write it down. Okay, sound good? I hope it does. So that is enough of that. We have our address. Now we are ready to come over and see if we can start coding this thing up. All right, we've got it hooked up. We are now ready to see if we can make it actually do something. So I'm going to come over here again to a fresh new bare minimum IDE. And what we're going to do is we got to load some libraries. So I'm going to say include. And what am I going to need? I'm going to need the spi.h library like that. And then I'm going to pound include, and that is going to be the wire.h library like that. And now I'm going to pound include, and we are going to include the most excellent Adafruit underscore gfx dot h. That's a library. Okay, now you've got to make sure that you get your case exactly right. So make sure that you type that in right. Now, what I will say is this library does not come pre-installed, so we need to go ahead and install it. So I'm going to come over here to the little book icon, and I'm going to click on that. And what are we going to look for? Adafruit GFX, like that. And then here we have it right here. Do you see where it says Adafruit GFX library? You might make note that I'm installing 1.11.11, and you're going to be watching this at some indefinite point in the future. And so the latest version might not be this version, but I will tell you it is probably, I think it is probably safer if you go ahead and do exactly the one that I am doing. So I'm going to click install here, and I am going to say, it says this library needs another dependency not listed, the Adafruit bus IO. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to install all like this to make sure it gets everything that it needs. Okay. And you know, it's kind of strange, but I am finding to do this installation, I need to not have my Arduino plugged in, and I'm not sure if other people experience that or not, but that's just what I am finding. So you saw how it was hanging, and then I unplugged my Arduino and things seem to be happy again. Okay, there's one other library that we are going to need, and that is include, and that is the most excellent Adafruit _ SSD1306.H, like that, because that is our device. I find it awkward that on these includes, it's like one of the only places in Arduino that you don't put the semicolons in. So you get hammered by not using your semicolons, but if you use them here, it's not going to work. All right, now we've got to install that library as well. So I'm going to come over here and search on Adafruit SSD1306, like that, and then we find this one right here, Adafruit Adafruit SSD1306 by Adafruit. And again, note that I am putting on 2.5.13, and let's go ahead and install that. And it says that it wants the GFX library. Well, I've already got that, but I'm just going to go ahead and say install all. So that was already on there, but I'll just say install all. Okay, now that my libraries are installed, I'm going to go ahead and plug my Arduino back into the USB board. Okay. Ooh, almost had a coffee spill there. Save the day there. Man, and that would have been terrible. That would have made a big mess on my desk. Plus, I would have lost a most excellent cup of coffee. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to get this nonsense out of the way. Now let's just go ahead and run it to make sure that it can find those libraries. It's not going to do anything, but let's just make sure that we can load it without getting an error. Okay, it's looking like it's going to be happy here. It's looking like it's going to be happy. And is it just me, or does it seem like this 2.x IDE compiles a whole lot slower than the old 1.8? Maybe it's just me. Okay, so that worked without an error, and that's really what we wanted to see. So now we're ready to go in and start getting this thing set up. So I need to set up a variable or two here. And so what we need to do is we need to tell it our screen width, and that is in pixels. And so the screen width for this particular one that comes in the kit is 128 pixels wide, and then it is screen height is equal to 64 pixels. Okay, and there's some other ones that are different sizes. I think a really popular one is 128 wide and 32 high. That's another one that you run into a lot, but this one in the kit is 128 by 64. Now we're going to do an OLED reset, and that's going to be equal to -1. Now, what is that about? Some of these OLEDs, they have another pin, and that pin is the reset pin. And so here you would need to say what pin you are connecting the reset pin to on the Arduino. But since ours doesn't have one, the appropriate thing to tell it is -1. Now we've got to tell it our screen address. So this is going to be done with a define, where we define a constant, and it is screen underscore address, all uppercase, a space, right? No no equal sign or anything in there. And what did we say it was? 0 little x 3c. And it seems like some of these are 0x3d and some of them are 0x78, if you can believe that. So anyway, we know what ours is because we thought ahead and we tested it. Now we're going to create our object. What are we going to do? We're going to use the Adafruit underscore SSD1306. That is the library. Now we create our object. I'm going to create my object and call it OLED. You could call yours Kitty Litter Box if you wanted to, but I think OLED would be a more descriptive name for the object. Okay, so let's see here. There's a couple of parameters we need to tell it. We need to tell it the screen width that we just set up, the screen height we just set up, and then there is the and wire and then underscore wire. We're passing it basically that wire library that we had imported. And then I need to pass it that reset pin, which was OLED reset. I really do feel bad when my head covers up my code, and I know you really hate it when I do that. So I'm trying to be careful today. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now what I want to do is we're going to go ahead and come down to our void setup, and we might want to print something out. So I think it's always good to do a serial.begin at 9600 like that. And now I've created my OLED, but now I need to turn my OLED on. And so that is going to be OLED.begin. And now I've got to tell it this strange parameter about how to convert the 5 volts to the 3.3 volts or something like that. So anyway, you got to put this in here because we are connected to the 5-volt pin. And so this is going to be called SSD1306 underscore switch cap VCC. Okay, and so switch cap VCC, and then we also have to tell it what we set up as the screen underscore address like that, and our friend the semicolon. Okay, that looks pretty good. I really think that's all we got to do in the void setup. So now let's jump into the void loop. What the thing is with this little display that you got to think about, and let me see if I can go ahead. Let's see if we can show that. Okay. I think you can probably read that. We might zoom in specifically on it later, but I think I can show you the code in the display at the same time. There is like a buffer or a register that you put the data into for the display, but just putting your whatever in the register doesn't mean that it shows. You've got to put it in the register and then you've got to show it. Well, you see, you don't know what might be on the screen or in the register from the last time that you ran the program. So what you want to do is you want to come in before you do anything. I always like to start with an OLED. That was our object. Clear display like that. Now actually if there was something on your OLED and you ran clear display, it doesn't make it go away because you just cleared the buffer. Now what you got to do is you got to show that new buffer, which is empty. So you say OLED.display. OLED displays whatever is in the buffer. Okay, so you got it in the buffer. Now it displays it. So what we did is we emptied the buffer and we displayed the empty buffer. So now we're guaranteed that we're going to start with a blank screen. Let's just run this and see if we get a blank screen. Really, I just want to make sure that I don't have any errors before I go too much. Screen height. Oh, screen. What is that? Screen. E. You see why I like to run it? Screen. Okay, now let's run it again. I think it's going to run this time. It's looking good, downloading, and boom, we programmed a blank screen. Okay, that isn't really that great because that doesn't really tell us whether we have done anything or not. But we come down here, so we cleared our display. Now, what I want to do is I've got to just kind of start somewhere. So I'm going to set my cursor, all right? And what you got to think of is you have X and you have Y. 0, 0 is the upper left corner. And this is all in pixels. So you've got in X 128 pixels and in Y 64 pixels. But remember, because you're starting at 0, that means that your leftmost pixel is 0 and your rightmost pixel is 127. Okay, and similarly, your top pixel is 0 and your bottom pixel is 63, since you're starting to count at 0 and it's 128 wide by 64 tall. So I'm going to start in the upper left corner, so that's going to be an X value of 0 and a Y value of 0. So we're starting in the upper left corner, and then I'm just going to do an OLED dot print like that. And what am I going to print? I'm going to print, you guessed it, hello world, like that. Okay, and so we will put this. Now if we were to run it now, we would still get a blank screen. Why would we still get a blank screen? Because we've got to now do the OLED dot display like that, no parameters. Okay, and then I will do a delay of 1000 like that. Okay, now let's see if we can run this, and you're going to have all eyes on the display here, and we are going to run it. And so far so good. Look at it go, look at it go. Ooh, has no name. What did I misspell here? Oh, set cousin, no, set cursor. Like that. I was so sure that I hadn't made mistakes. Okay, but we're going to be watching this. It's going. Look at that. It is downloading, and nothing. Okay, so why did we get nothing? There are a couple of defaults that you have to set. Okay, there are a couple of defaults that you have to set. One, we set where you want to put the text. Okay, but there are two others. OLED dot set color, and what we are going to set it to is just white. All right, now it's not really white, but really what it means is it's the bright color. So on this one, the dark color is black and the bright color is blue. But you don't type in blue. It's just sort of like you could think of white is the pixels on and black is the pixels off. Now, when the pixel comes on, it's going to come on blue, but I've got to set it to white. I hope that makes sense what I just said. And then the other thing you've got to do is OLED dot set text size. And let's just set it to the smallest of 1, a font size of 1. And I think what you can do is you can go from 1 to 8. And so now with the proper parameters in there, we are going to try this again, and we're going to see what we get. And we're running. It's, oh, Adafruit has no, did I set color, set text size? What did I do? Set color. Oh, set text color. Sorry. Set text color. All right, here we go. It's going to run this time. Okay, we are watching. It's downloading, and boom! Do you see that? Hello world. Let's see if I can give you the little bit closer view of it here. Let's look at it here. Okay, there you see it. Hello world. And I got to straighten that board up just a little bit. There it is. Okay, hello world. So that was pretty cool. Now let's come back over here so you can see what I'm doing. Now, what you're going to find is this print works a whole lot. This print works a whole lot like the serial monitor, where you can do a print and you can do a print line. So what I could do is I could come in and I could print hello. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and do an OLED print. And what I will do is hello. Let's see, you said hello world. And I'll put on that same line, I will put number 1 like that. Okay, but this time I'm going to do a print ln. Okay, now let's see what happens this time. I'm going to do a print and a print ln. Okay, so let's see what happens. So I've got print. I'm going to have hello world and then number 1. And that should be there, and then it should be there. And then what happened? Okay, did that work? Yes, it did. So let me show you, make sure that you can see it. Okay, hello world number 1. Now what you can see that you don't like very much, what you can see you don't like it ran them together. So we would do it like that. Okay, we'll put a space there. Now this time I put print ln. Okay, so that's going to take it to the next line. And then if I come in here again and I go like this, I'm going to print hello world, and this time number 2. Now I started here, okay, and now it automatically advanced me to the next row with that print ln here. All right, so now let's try that. Okay, and we're going to run it. And all eyes on this. Let's see if I can switch you to the larger view. A little bit more satisfying. Hopefully we got rid of that space this time. Downloading. Okay, look at that. Hello world number 1 and hello world number 2. Now, on your screen, you sort of see things blinking a little bit, but that blinking is really just associated, blinking is really just associated with the sync of the camera. So it's sort of a camera sync problem. When I look at this, I'm not seeing the blinking. Okay, so that is pretty cool. That is actually pretty cool. So you can see that we can do an automatic advance to the next line with the print ln, or just the print will print it at the end of wherever the other one was. It will just do it at the end of wherever the other one was. I lied to you. That's actually blinking, and the reason it's blinking is because I clear the display and then I write it again, and you see that little blink when I clear the display and write it again. Okay, right here. When I clear the display and write it again, that's leading to that blink. So I do look at that and I see the blink, but we can take care of that later as we're not just constantly doing it. Like one thing, we could clear it. We could clear it up in the void setup, and that way it wouldn't be blinking here at the top of the void loop. All right, but we are going to move on. So let's see what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is I am going to come back over here, and what I am going to do is I am just going to do I'm going to get rid of this stuff, and I am just going to do a print ln of hello like this, and then I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to do a print ln, and I'm going to have world. So this is going to be what? The world is going to be on the second line. Not surprising. But what we're going to do is we're going to make our text bigger. So I'm going to take it up to a 3. And let's see what happens here. And let's see if I can give you a close-up view. It is compiling. It is now downloading. And all eyes here. And boom. hello world. Look at that. Okay, look at that. That looks really, really good. Let's see what happened. I'm not going to show you the code view, but the text size I am just going to change to a 4. And I'm going to run it again and see, could we get 2 lines of 4, text size 4 on here? And I think probably it'll be okay height-wise, but I think probably that exclamation point's going to get pushed off the side of the screen. Okay, yeah, so you see you can get 2 lines of text size 4. You can get 2 lines of text size 4. Let's just put it, I'm going to come over and I'm going to put it an 8 just to see what would happen. I'm going to predict with an 8, you can just get like 1 letter. It's like you can only get 1 line, and on that 1 line, you could probably get maybe 1 or 2 letters. So it's going to probably be like a great big H and an E or something like that. Okay, like an H and an E. So if you make it 8, you're only going to get 1 row, and you can only get about 2 letters in there. All right. Okay, so that is pretty neat. Let's go back and let's make sure you can see what I'm doing. So I think I'm going to go back and leave this at a 3. Okay, I'm going to leave this at a 3. Now remember, you get all of your buffer set up. You get all of your buffer set up, and then when it's all set up, then you do the display. And then what you have to see is almost any command that you give, it's not going to be seen on the screen until you do another OLED display. But there is one that will automatically change the screen without having to do another OLED display, and that is OLED.invert display. And to turn that on, you make it a 1. And so that takes your buffer, and whatever pixel was on, it turns it off, and whatever pixel is off turns it on. And so it sort of reverses everything. So let's come in, and then always I like to put a delay after everything that's going to show just so you can see it. So let's come in and let's do that. And we should get the 2-line hello world if I'm thinking about this right. Looks like it is compiling okay. It is downloading, and we are going to get so close, and boom, hello world. And then it is going, now why did it get stuck there? I am not sure why it got stuck there. Oh, okay, I know what. Okay, it's going on and it's doing other things, but you're not seeing them because we didn't, after we did that, we should have cleared everything out again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I am going to clear it. Although I'm still not exactly sure. So I'm going to do an OLED, so I have it on for 1,000, then I'm going to invert it to a 1, and then I'm going to just delay 1,000, and then I'm going to OLED.invert display. Again, I'm going to turn it off. Okay, and this time I think I'll go off, and then when I get back to the top, the white text will show. But you see what I think I'm doing is, as it's looping through the program, I'm writing white text on top of the white background, and that's why you're not seeing it. But this one should show as hello world, then it should show hello world inverted, and then it should show hello world normal again, and then it should loop around back to the top. So let's see if this works. All eyes here. Okay, hello world. Okay, there. Yeah, now it is blinking. Now it is blinking as we would expect. So everything's good there. So what have we learned? What have we learned? We have learned how to put text where we want it. We've learned how to control the size of the text. We've learned how to kind of go up and down and start where we want with the text. Okay, like let me see here. I think that would probably look a little better if I put a space before hello and a space before world. And I just want to do that before we move on, because I just feel like that as I'm inverting it, it's just kind of running off the edge of the page. So let me fix that, and then we'll move on to some new stuff. Okay, yeah, that looks a lot better to me. Okay, and you're seeing when I invert the screen, you're seeing a lot of noise. I promise you that noise doesn't show up when I'm looking at it. That is the camera syncing problem. So it's the rate of the update of the display versus the rate that the camera snapping frames. You get some aliasing in there, if you will. Okay, so now let me go to see if we can do something else. So after I do that, I'm going to go ahead and delay again for 1,000. Like that. Okay, so now let me think about what the best thing to do would be. Okay, we're gonna learn some new commands here. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and clear my display. So I'm gonna clear that buffer. I'm clearing the buffer. And now I am going to go ahead and do the next command, draw pixel. And so this I can decorate one single pixel. So what if I wanted to decorate the center pixel of the array? Well, let's think about that. It's 128 wide. So what would be the center pixel? It would be 64. Okay. And then how tall is it? It is 64, so the midpoint would be 32 in Y, and then we want it to be a white pixel. And guys, the opposite of white would be black, so if we inverted it and made everything white and we wanted to turn one on, we could turn it black, if that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to do this one white, and then we're going to do the OLED dot display. Like that, and now we're going to wait a second. Now this is going to be very small for you to see, but I think you should be able to see it. So I'm going to run it, and then as it is running, we're going to come over here to this other larger view, and it is downloading, and now it is starting. So I get the hello world blinking, and there, can you see the pixel? There, right there. Can you guys see that? Leave me a comment if you can see it. I can see it. Boom. There's a pixel right there. So we can show that we can turn on or off an individual pixel. So because you can turn on and off an individual pixel, you can put any pattern on this screen that you want just by individually turning on which pixels you want on and which ones you want off. So you could draw whatever you wanted on here because you can control things down at the pixel level. Okay, well, let's go ahead and let's learn some other commands. And so we've got that thing clear, and so that is useful. And so now what I'm going to do again is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to copy it. Okay, and then I'm going to paste it, because a lot of these things are going to be very similar. We're always going to clear the display, and this time instead of drawing a pixel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line, like a line. Okay, and how the line works is it wants the X and the Y of the start point and then the X and the Y of the end point. So XY start, XY end. And you can draw any line you want. Well, let's start at X of 0 and Y of 0. That's what? The upper left. Okay. And then if I want the lower right, that would be an X value of 128. No, if I start counting at 0 and I have 128 pixels, I can go to 127, and then the Y value likewise would be 63 instead of 64. And then I'm going to display that, and then I'm going to wait 1,000. So let's watch this. And I think the line, you should see it very, very clearly go like that. It is downloading, and it is downloading, and boom, we get the hello world. The hello world blinks, then we get the pixel, and now we get the horizontal line. Okay. And let me let you watch it a little bit closer here. There's your pixel, and there is your diagonal line. Okay, so we can draw a line from any starting point to any ending point, and so I think that's pretty fun. Well, what if we wanted to put like a crosshair on the on this thing? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it. And so this time we want a horizontal line across the middle. Okay, a horizontal line across the middle. So what would the x value be? The x value would be 0, and the y value would be halfway down, which would be 32. So that's the starting point. Now I've got to come all the way over to here, which is going to be, I come all the way over to 127, but I'm still just 32 down. And if that didn't make sense, you sit and draw this picture. But I think this is going to give me a horizontal line in the middle of the screen. Let me give you the good view here. Okay, here it goes. It's downloading, and boom. I get the hello world blinking. I get the pixel. I get the diagonal, and I get the horizontal line. Okay, so now what we want is we want a vertical line. We want a vertical line. So we will come back over here where you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to add another line. So we'll copy that. You guys see if you can do the vertical line on your own. Okay, now what would the x value be? This time the x value would be what? It would be halfway over, which would be 64. And the y value, I want to start at the top, so it would be 0. And then I'm going to stay in x at 64, but this time on y, I'm going to be halfway over. I'm going to be halfway over. No, I'm going to be all the way down. Okay, so 64, I am halfway over. 0, I'm at the top. Now, I'm still halfway over, but I'm going to come all the way down to, I misspoke, 63, right? So I go over 64 in x because that's half of 128. I'm going to come all the way down to 64, which is the full screen. But since we started counting at 0, we got to go back to 63. Okay, so let's see if that will put a nice center and a center line. Okay, so we are watching this. It is downloading. It is downloading, and it is boom. Okay, the hello world, the blink, and then we get the pixel, we get the diagonal, and we get the crosshairs. Okay, do you guys see? We can really do some pretty cool things here. You know what I don't like? I think that hello world is a little bit too close. I think it's a little bit too close to the top of the screen. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to see up here where I start the thing with my first set cursor up here on the text. This is going to be an X value and a Y value. And so I'm going to come down about 12 pixels and just see if I'm not jamming so far up at the top of the screen, because I think we kind of have some room there on that hello world. Now that set cursor is only affecting the text, right? Because everything else I'm giving absolute reference to. Okay, I'm giving an absolute reference. So let's see what happens. Oh, that hello world is much better. Do you see how it's not jammed? We're there, we're there. Now look at that hello world. It's better centered in the screen. So I like that a lot better. All right, so we're going to come back over here. So we've done some lines. Let's see what else we can do here. What other kind of fun things can we do? We're going to come in. We're going to learn something else. And so I'm going to say OLED dot. I'm going to paste it again. All right, let's get this. Let's copy it. Let's paste it. Okay, so this time, instead of draw a line, I'm going to take this one out. This time, instead of draw a line, I am going to draw an RECT for rectangle. And where do I want to start? The XY is at 0, 0. And now I have to give it a width, and then I have to give it a height. Well, what do I want my width to be? My width is going to be 127. And then my height is going to be 63. Like that, 127.63. And I'm having a question, but let me run this and see if that works. It's either gonna work or almost work. Okay, there's our hello world, there's our pixel, there's our diagonal, there is our square. Okay, so we got a square there. Okay, we got a square. But now my question is, what if I went to 128 and 64? Because this isn't an absolute position. This is just the number of pixels I want it to be. So let's see what happens if it shows the whole thing. Okay, it is downloading, 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 and boom, hello world blinking. Blinking, there's our pixel, there's our diagonal, there's our crosshairs, and there's our square. Yeah, okay. So really, I was thinking in terms of subtracting one, but here it's not asking me for X and Y, it's asking me for an absolute width. What is the absolute width? 128. What is the absolute height? 64. So I had not thought about that absolutely perfectly when I wrote it down the first time. Okay, so that is pretty good. We got ourselves a rectangle. Let's get this and let's go again. Okay, like that. And then what am I going to do this time? What I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly the same thing that I did before, but this time instead of drawing a rectangle, I am going to fill a rectangle. So I'm going to make a filled rectangle. All right, I'm going to make a filled rectangle. Let's see what happens. So you see, you can make a frame or you can make a solid. All eyes here, it is downloading and boom, hello world, where's our pixel? There's our pixel diagonal. And then there's our crosshairs, our square, and our filled rectangle. Okay. Let's look at this at the better view just so you can take it all in. There's the crosshairs, there's that, and there is the filled rectangle. So we are getting everything that we are trying to get here. Now, what I could also do though is let's take this last one, let's copy it, and let's paste it. Okay, let's copy it and let's paste it. And so this time, we are going to do a fill rectangle with white. But this time what I'm going to do is an OLED.fill rectangle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at 5 and 5. So this is the upper left corner and I'm going to come in and down. Okay, so I'm going to come in 5 and down 5. And now on the width, I want it. This new rectangle, I want 5 less on each side. So 5 less and 5 less, that would be 10 less. And so instead of 128, this would be 118. And then 64, 10 less would be 54, like that. Now this is where the magic happens. So you're going to have to wait for it. Instead of white, make it black, like that. Don't you wish we could do all colors like this? But these little displays, they've got black and white. Okay, so now look at what's going to happen this time. So we are going to come back to our more full view here. And we are running. It is downloading. And it is about ready. And boom, hello world. We've got the blink. We've got the pixel, we've got the diagonal, we got the crosshairs, we've got the empty rectangle, the full rectangle, and we got the rectangle in a rectangle. Did you see that? So you can make kind of thick borders by putting a rectangle in a rectangle. Now I could still come in there and put text inside of that, right? Because I'm not going to display it till I get everything just the way I want it. But you see, you can kind of make thick borders on things by putting a black rectangle inside of a white rectangle. Are we done? No, we've got some more stuff that we can learn here. And so let's come in, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste again. Okay, and so I'm going to do the clear, and then after I do the clear, I am going to what am I going to do? I'm not going to fill a rectangle. I am going to draw a circle. Okay. Now, what do you have to give here? You have to give it the center of the circle. Well, I want the center of the circle just about in the middle of the display. So if it's an X, it's 128. Half that would be 64. Okay, and then 64 in Y, half of that would be 32. So I give it the X and the Y of the center. So I want it at the point X64, Y32. The center should be in the middle of the screen. And then how big do I want the radius? Well, let's say I've got like 32 above me and I got 32 below me. So I could probably make the whole thing fit if I made the radius of 31. And then what's it going to be? It is going to be white again, like that. Okay, let's run this thing. Let's come back to our more favored view. And let's see what we can do here. And it is downloading. And coming up is the hello world, followed by the blinking hello world, and our friend the pixel, the diagonal line, the crosshairs, the fill, and the circle. Did you see the circle? I couldn't even keep up with that. It's going so fast. Okay, so we got a circle. So let's see what else interesting we could do with the circle. So I'm going to get this, and then I'm going to copy it, and we'll come down here like that. And then I am going to, I don't know what that dog's barking at. Oh, we got some fishermen out there. Beautiful day. Let's look in the front yard. Ah, you see, our corn patch is coming along nicely. But I don't see what the dog is barking at. But I'm sorry, I've gotten distracted here. Let me come back over here. Okay, so yeah, it's doing what we were expecting. And so now we are going to draw another circle. So I've already copied and pasted. So I am going to make this big circle instead of draw a circle. What I am going to do is I am going to fill circle. All right, and so that's going to make that circle that we did before solid, okay? And it's going to be solid, and I'm not going to show you that because you guys kind of understand it now. But now I'm going to have the same center point, but I'm going to have a much smaller, well, not much smaller, but a little bit smaller, let's say a 24 pixel radius, and instead of white, I'm going to have black. Like that. Now we will run this, and we'll come over here and look at it, and let's see what it does. It is downloading. All eyes on the screen, and we have the hello world blinking. We have the lone pixel. We've got the diagonal. We got the crosshairs. We got the empty box. We got the inverted box, the filled box, the circle, and the thick circle. Okay, guys, do you see all the things you can do just with these few commands and the stuff you've learned today? You can really do a whole lot of stuff. Now, what you can also do, and I'm not going to go into this today, but you can define like a bitmap, and then you can put a picture on the screen. All right. The other thing that I'm not showing you today, you can animate things. And so like I could have text, and I could make this text scroll. I could have the text scroll back and forth, or I could have the text scroll off the screen. I kind of find scrolling text a little bit annoying. So, and this is already kind of a little bit of a long lesson, but I have got something else really amazing happening here. I have a wasp on my camera. Do you see that wasp? He is covering my beautiful view. There's his stinger. Go away. Okay. And here we'll come back over. Ah, man in the water. Do you see the swimmer in the water? I wonder how he got in the water. Okay, we'll continue to watch him. So I've shown you the commands. The things I didn't show you is I didn't show you how to do a bitmap, just because I find it very annoying trying to define the bitmaps. And so I didn't show you that, and I didn't show you how to scroll text, but it's easy enough to look that up if you are interested. He's went under. Did you see him? He went under. Come back up. Come to the top. We're starting to worry about you, mister. Do you think he went under? Like, for real? Ah, there he is. Okay. He's back up. And it looks like he's swimming back towards the boat. Hopefully this guy will let him in the boat. Okay, we'll keep our eyes on him. Okay, so you've learned a lot there. But now, what is your homework assignment? Your homework assignment is now to incorporate this display into a... He went back down. Oh, the other man's in the water. Man overboard. Did you see that? Man overboard. We have one man overboard and we have the other man underwater. And the boat is left unattended. We have two men underwater. Wow. Okay, one man came back up. He's making a run for the boat. A run for the boat. Look at him. He is really moving. These guys are excellent swimmers, these fishermen. Sometimes I'm not sure if they're just doing this as recreation, or I'm not sure if they're doing it as recreation, or if they're like needing to get their nets loose or whatever. Okay, man number 2 is back up. I would like to see them both get both safely back into the boat. Okay, we got another boat back there, another boat back over that way, back in the background. Okay, so anyway, those are wonderful people, and we buy fish from them. We can just wave them over and buy some tilapia or some Nile perch, and so we enjoy buying our fish from the fishermen. Okay, so now this is the homework assignment. You remember the ultrasonic sensor project that we did in the last few lessons? What your homework assignment is to now create a standalone project where you can measure distance. So you're going to have your distance sensor, okay, and then you're going to have your display, and then you're going to have a button, and you're going to have your Arduino, okay? And then what this is going to say is it's going to prompt you to position your sensor towards the target, and then it will prompt you to push the go button. Then when you push the button, it will make a measurement of distance, and it will display that measurement of distance, and then it will give you the opportunity to press the button again to make another measurement. Okay, you can press the button again to make another measurement. Now you can even make this portable. You can use a battery if you want to make this thing completely portable, and then you'll have something that you can just sort of walk around with and you can measure distances with. And so that is your homework assignment. And then what you need to do is you need to post your homework to YouTube, put a link down in the comments. I know some of you guys are having trouble. Your link doesn't show up, but just put a comment. Look at my page, and I've uploaded my video, and we can just click on your name and we can go over and watch the video. On your video, make sure to link back to this video so people will know where you came from. Okay, guys, I hope you are having as much fun taking these classes as I am making them. As always, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to you guys who are supporting me on Patreon. It is the support of my Patreons that allows me to continue to produce fresh new content every single week. So I want to give you guys a great big thank you. You can also help me by giving me a thumbs up on this video, and also by leaving a comment down below. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, when you do, make sure you ring that bell so you will get notification when future lessons drop. And as always, most importantly, share this video with other people, because the world needs more people thinking like an engineer and fewer people sitting around watching silly cat videos. Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.